my 10th grade summer at my dad's, my mother was still living in this rinky dink town. And I do want to say about this town, I haven't really said yet. Whenever we were living kind of downtown in this small little town, if you could call it downtown. There was a little grocery store and a little video store, and there was a rock shop, what they called a rock shop, where they would sell crystals and all kinds of pretty stuff. And I would hang out there all the time. And there were two guys that worked there, and it's like it was their business or whatever, and I would ask them questions all the time, and they would smoke marijuana with me, and I loved hanging out at the rock shop. And another thing about my mother living in that location, a lot of hippies is what you would call them, or they're nomadic people, would come traveling through, and we had a creek in our backyard, and my mother would allow them to stay in our backyard at that creek, because they would have to find places, because modern day life, they're nomads and they travel. In modern day life, they need to find places to be able to stay where they're allowed to stay. And so we would allow them to stay at the creek, and so there were always people coming and going. Sometimes there were no people, but there were people, and I've seen some of the most beautiful people named Rain or Summer or Flower. But yeah, they're the most beautiful, gorgeous people, and they're amazing, and they had a different lifestyle. And so I got to talk to them and ask them, how do you live? How does this work? And so they taught me that. And so I love that, living with my mother. And my mother at this time, because she learned about the people, and they have a gathering every year. They used to have a gathering every year at the 4th of July. They would all get together and hold hands on the 4th of July and sing for peace, for world peace. And I thought that is so beautiful, that these beautiful people are getting together every year at the 4th of July to sing for peace. Okay, so at the end of my 10th grade summer, I got to go back with my mother, and now she's living in a different location, not really downtown. But my aunt, she gets with the rock shop guy, and they're getting married, and so she gets the house that was right by the rock shop. And so my cousin is living there, and so I start my 11th grade year in this rinky-dink school, but for the first time ever at the same school with my cousin, which made me so happy. I was so excited, because me and my cousin we've never lived in the same town, and always, our parents are trying to separate us, and I love my cousin, and we would always talk about everything, We started school. And we started school together, and it was the first time that we were together, and pretty much right away, the first week of school, she convinces me to skip, because of course I'm going to be easily convinced to skip. Like, this elementary school work is what I was given, and yes, I could have done the full school year of work in the first month and just turned it in and had an A. I could have done every single test. You didn't have to teach me nothing. It was already in my head. I already knew it all. School was so easy. It didn't teach you nothing about life. Nothing about life. But anyway, so I convinced her, and we convinced each other that, we should skip. Let's skip this crap. And for some reason, we're really dumb. We think that this dude's going to be cool, but we go to this hippie dude's house who is friends with our parents. And he is cool. He's like, oh, so y'all are skipping school and da-da-da-da-da. And he smokes some marijuana with us. And then we go back to the school and then ride the bus home. And we get in trouble because, he told our parents. We were so dumb. But anyway, we thought that it wouldn't be a big deal. Not a big deal at all. But no. Our parents freaked out. My aunt didn't want me around my cousin at all. And she was like, I'm going to have to move because of your daughter telling my mom. And my mom's like, no. We'll figure this out. And so my mom calls my dad, and they decide that I have to move in with my dad. So I got to go to the same school and live in the same town with my cousin for 1 week. 1 week. And I don't know. It was fun. I really enjoyed that week. I wish I could have stayed longer, though, because I could tell that it was going to be a lot of fun, and she was going to have a lot of fun that year, And I told her, I was like, you're going to have a lot of fun. And so I had to move in with my dad, and my dad was getting back with my stepmom, and they decided that it was best that I go to live with my stepmother and go to the same school with my stepsister. Me and her ride the bus together, and we'll be together. And I knew how I had felt her earlier in life. I knew because there was many times that me and her had fights and everything, and I really liked her, and I thought that she was a cool person, and I wanted her. I wanted to always be in her life. I cared about her. And so I knew that I wasn't going to make that same mistake. I was like, I don't care about what any other kids. My sister's going to be first in my life this time. And so I tried to make it that way, but she was already kind of hurt and scorned maybe. I don't know. But yeah, we were close, and but not that close. She kind of kept me at bay, which is understandable. But I would eat lunch with her, and I would hang out with her and her friends any chance that I could. But also at this time in my life, I'm highly addicted to cigarettes. I'm always smoking cigarettes, and they allow me to smoke cigarettes at my dad's house. I just have to do it outside. I just wasn't allowed to do it inside because the twins were there and they were still toddlers, and yeah, so I was allowed to smoke cigarettes, but not inside, outside. And pretty much every afternoon, I would go get on my dad's cell phone and call my cousin and ask her, what's up? What's going on? How's life going? And she would let me know that life's going good. And it just got better and better for her, and I was happy for her. And in my school, I would skip a lot. Well, whenever I got to this school and I started this school, it was completely different because this is a big city school. And I was like, well, I need to be in all advanced classes. And they're like, if you want to be in advanced classes, you have to pass the test. And I was like, I'll pass the test. They're like, okay, we'll give you all the tests today if you want. And I was like, sure. And I did them, and I got in all advanced classes. I ended up taking 2 history classes, and they have like all kind. They had block scheduling, so you could do even more classes, and they had like everything under the moon. And so I took like my favorite stuff. I took a parenting class because I want to be a good parent. I want to be a mom. I took a sewing class because I want to be able to sew. I took a makeup class because I loved makeup. Oh my gosh, I loved this school. I loved this school so much. And I was also in calculus. I was in I was in a lot of cool classes. But after lunch, I'd be craving a cigarette really, really bad. And before school, a bunch of people would gather up and they would be smoking marijuana. And so I'd hook up with them to smoke because I was very much a pothead. And I'd be smoking every day. And after lunch, I would always sneak off to go smoke me a cigarette. And but my sister and her friends didn't because they didn't smoke cigarettes. They smoked marijuana, but they weren't as much of a pothead as I was. I was pretty bad. And during this time, my sister's boyfriend was always over, and he would have marijuana, and he would try to hide it from me because he'd be like, "This girl." And I loved Eminem. Me and my cousin loved Eminem. I say this because my sister's boyfriend, he would be trying to hide the weed from me and stuff, and he would say, "You're brain damaged," and I'd be like, "Ever since the day I was born," start rapping Eminem. And yeah, so, and my cousin and I, because I was in contact with her, she was like, guess what? Eminem is coming to Arkansas in October. And I was like, oh my gosh, we've got to go. And she is such a daddy's girl. Her dad will do anything for her. And he got her not just tickets, but some backstage passes for us. And I could not wait to go. And my dad was like, yeah, I'll let you go see Eminem with your cousin. So I was so excited about that. And okay, so one day at the big city school after lunch, I was caught smoking, and I was able to put that out and hide the evidence of that. And I think they knew that I was smoking, but I wouldn't admit it. I was like, I was just at the football field, just hanging out. That's all I was doing. And they were like, well, you're not supposed to leave the cafeteria, or you're not supposed to leave the cafeteria area to go to the football field during lunch. And so I got in school suspension, and my dad called, and they told him, and I told him, I was just walking over there. I didn't know it was bad. So in this in-school suspension, they gave me some schoolwork, and I had it all done. You're not allowed to talk, and I had gum. I got in trouble for chewing gum. I put my feet up on the back, and I got in trouble for that. And I can't take not talking all day. Like, not talking all day long, that's crazy, especially back then. And so I was thinking that I could at least talk to the teacher, but She wasn't having it. You don't even talk to the teacher. And even at lunchtime, she wouldn't let us talk. So after lunch, I write this letter to a boy that is one of my sister's boyfriend's friends. So I write this letter to him. I kind of have a crush on him, but I didn't tell nobody that. I'm writing this letter about how horrible in-school suspension is and how I can't wait to just get home and get high. And this teacher is the worst. She's horrible. And honestly, she's lucky that none of us are psycho, because if I was a psycho, I'd put her on my list first to kill. And she snatches up this letter, reads it, and freaks out and calls the cops. Like, hides in a corner. Like, literally, she like goes and gets in a corner. And she had called the cops, and I didn't know. But the cops were coming, and they came, and they were like in there, and they're like, her? And like, they got me out, and they called my dad, and they took me to the police station. They took my pictures, and we goofed off and just had a blast at the cop station. Me and the police officers really did have a lot of fun. It was fun and goofy. They did read me my rights, and I made them explain every single one. And I was like, oh, wow, cool. I was suspended, and honestly, they were thinking that they weren't going to let me go back to school. And my dad was like, you might have just ruined your school career. You know, as much as you say you're a straight A student and life's going to be easy, you might have just ruined that. You know, it might be completely ruined because of this. And so my dad was like, he was trying to fight to get me back in school. And for me, I was like, whatever, like, I could already like go to a college if I wanted to, you know. So, but he wanted me to go back to school, and I wanted to go back to school too. And so, yeah, and I was in trouble, and I did my first day, the very first day of, it was a Monday morning. It was of my suspension, and you know, my dad was upset, and he was like, "You're still gonna get up early, and I want you to clean this house. It needs to be clean whenever I get home." And da 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 da. His house was never clean. And yeah, so he got me up early, and I did get up early, but I just went back to sleep because I was like, okay, they're gone, back to sleep. And he woke me up, and I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. But no, my grandpa was there, and my grandpa sat me down and was like, we need to talk. And I knew someone had died. And yeah, my grandpa said, I was expecting my grandma or anything. I was so stealing myself, getting myself ready. And my grandpa said my cousin's name. And I stood up immediately and I said, you liar, you liar. And, you know, he just kind of hung his head. And they took me to my grandma and grandpa's house. And I wasn't believing it at first. I was in shock. I was mad. And I called my mom from their house, and she's crying. And I just say, I want my mommy. She died in the back seat of a car right after getting her hair done. And this crushes me. It crushes me. And shock sets in. And I'm forever changed. So I hate to end it on a note like that. But it's how it's ending. Thank you so much for putting up with me and enduring. Thank you for being here. Be blessed. With love. Always. Thank you so much for watching my testimony. I appreciate all of you. I just want to put a disclaimer here at the end. This testimony is based off my memories and how I remember it, and memories can get convoluted, distorted. So maybe not all the details are factual, and it's not a completely factual story, but it's still my story and my truth. And I really appreciate all of you for watching. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching my story. That's all she got.